One. Hello, lords and ladies of the internet, and welcome back to the Council of Candor, episode 22. We're going to be Efaping one Joseph Narukami. I think I pronounced that right. I've heard his persona, but I don't play that game. So,
I believe that you pronounced it correctly, yes.
excellent. We're going to get into it, and, quickly today. First, I would like to introduce our esteemed panel who are going to be helping me take down this video. And then we'll get into what this video is and why we're covering this. So,
the issue with this format is primarily that there are 6 hosts. This is clearly a riff on Mahler's style, and ultimately Mahler's style has been known to not work. There has been entire recorded accounts of Mahler's EFAP style being particularly not very pleasant to watch by a lot of people who don't like his content. I am not saying that, oh yeah, this guy is just like Mahler and you don't have to worry about it. This guy's a hack. But what I am straightforward saying is that this format with 6 hosts so far isn't working. It's basically controlled by the one dude at the center of it all, King of Candor, or that I don't even know his other alternate name, but I think you get the point at this point. Let's just move on, and I'll talk more about this whole 6 host problem as the video progresses.
we're going to go left and right. The first up is Mr. Creatively Garbled, fellow YouTube creator. How you doing, Garbled?
I'm doing pretty all right. Thanks for having me on.
Next up, we have a regular on the council, Mr. Dez. How you doing today, Dez?
I'm doing all right.
Excellent. And you all know me, and following me is our resident animal expert and fellow co-host, Pops. How's it going today, Pops?
Oh, it's excellent, man. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to everybody who could join us today for this excellent topic. So, yeah, things have been going very well today. Went to the gym. Ended up actually putting the laundry in rather than letting it pile up. I swept my room. I went to the creek with my girlfriend, who you don't know because she goes to another school. And had a lot of fun. This is a topic.
Is that the next time over, or is that the other one that you have to try and get to?
The other one.
I'm not at liberty. I'm not participating in the
We'll talk about her on here, you poor, okay? We gotta ruin everything for him.
I know we got a couple of different perspectives in here as far as how we want to perceive this video. Some of you haven't watched it. I have watched it. I do have a couple of things that I do want to say, and a couple of things about Rooney that I think should be said. So this is going to be fun. We're jump right in. All right, here we go.
I have a few more guests introduced. So next up, I would like to greet our fellow co-host, Peg. He's back once again.
Oh, hi. How's it going? I still a writer. That's what I do, and that's kind of the perspective I'll be looking at this from.
Just I think there might be string issues.
There might be string issues?
Yes.
What's wrong with string issues?
Never mind. Seems like it's working fine.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, so I've read a little bit of Godzilla's. I read a little bit of Rooney's writing in the past. Decent work. Also watched
What'd
this video.
you say?
You've read enough to have an opinion.
Yeah, I've read enough to have an opinion, essentially. And I've also watched enough of this video to have an opinion, so I'm definitely biased going into this.
Excellent. And last but not least is Titan, returning from his long hiatus from the Warhammer string. How's it going, Titan?
It's going good, I guess I'm the local Warhammer autist on this little area. I don't know how to describe it.
Warhammer opinions of everybody.
Yes,
That's a
all
low-
of my
low
opinions
bar.
are correct opinions.
Just so you all know, me and him got an argument with a guy on the server that was telling us that the Emperor is not in fact wrong for being an atheist because killing all religions did in fact not affect all people. It did not destroy chaos. Even though it's directly stated in the only book that talks about religion that that's what happened. But what do we know?
Yeah, just go watch The Last Church, free on YouTube, fully, partially animated, I guess. Actually interesting. Go watch that for once.
No spoilers for the story that we're about to cover.
Yeah, oh yes, it is related to this. This is, sorry.
No
Context,
spoilers, come on.
A little bit. So Black Rooney is a friend of both of ours, and he is a well-beloved member of my server. He's got some funny takes, some sad takes on Godzilla. I will say right now, if you've ever been on his podcast, you know that I vehemently disagree with almost all of his opinions and thoughts on Godzilla. However, this video covering this is possibly the worst takedown I've ever seen of this. You would think it'd be very easy to cover like a breakdown of Black Rooney's takes because, well, as much as I love Rooney, he's wrong about Godzilla.
He's a bad take machine.
Yeah.
A couple of things to say. Yeah, it's not totally irredeemable as a whole, but like you notice things and it sets you off.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the way that I approached it almost seemed like a little too overly emotional. Like he's too committed to making him look a certain way rather than actually. I don't want to say objective because like that's such a word that gets thrown around, but like taking him down as far as like in a valid way. It kind of
Yeah,
falls
it's like vindictive. It's not.
Right,
It's not.
yes.
Yep.
Yeah, he's got a point to prove. He's got an axe to
He
grind.
cares
He
about
fucking grinds
yeah.
it.
Joseph here,
He cares
he's
about the
super
hit
cool
piece.
with his profile pic of Blade. He really wants you to know how much he doesn't like Rooney, and that gets in the way of any useful critique, criticism, or lessons to be learned from Rooney's thing.
This argument itself is interesting precisely for one reason. Well, technically 2 reasons. But the first reason I'd argue that this argument is interesting is that this is about emotions. The problem with this argument that immediately crops up is that the guy hasn't played the video yet. And sure, he has been aware about me a little bit, so at least he has some knowledge of going into my style and how this functions. But to be straightforward, none of the other hosts know. So essentially, they're agreeing with the guy, but they never actually seen the work. There have been some guys who've seen like 15 minutes of this or so on and so forth, but it comes off as intentionally obfuscatory, I should say. It's basically these people attempting to rationalize the fact that somebody or someone can enter this space with with some aggression in mind. But the other thing is that this was intentionally supposed to be a vindicative and provocative video. Every single bit in detail that I pointed out towards was intentionally in the style of Blackarooni's poor emulation of a much bigger YouTuber, Mauler, which I mentioned before. His vindicative style of this and repeated dismissal in these videos or implicit dismissal of these art forms and how things function in service of logic is a very straightforward thing to make fun of and criticize. But I decided to do it in Blackaroony style, even in an exaggerated standpoint, to show you how absurd these criticisms can be. And simultaneously, I could basically tell you that the book is insane. By using Blackaroony's style, or whatever it is, in the sense that, oh yeah, well, everything has to be logic based, I have essentially proved that the story is bad by his merits. But also the story is just bad from a regular storytelling standpoint. And normally I let people do whatever they want with stories. I do whatever I want with my stories. I will never publish any of my works publicly because they are mine, personal to alone, and close friends and such. But it's straightforward here. I hope that explains my position on this. So let's actually do this for real this time.
You play it.
We're gonna hit play now,
We
boys.
will.
More
let's go.
kinds of videos later, but for now, I just really want to keep talking about this guy until it's over. So this is his short story that you can read on Patreon for free, which he calls his amateur writer debut, called Godzilla, God of This World. It's not a very good amateur writer.
You can actually no longer get that on his Patreon.
It is tragic that you can no longer get it on his
Yeah,
So
Patreon.
true.
And I also want to
Anyway.
say,
Debut.
and I also want to
Anyway.
say,
Debut.
this guy already said that he's obsessed with Rooney and wants to do another takedown of him. This would be, I believe, his third video talking about Blackaroony on his channel. Not for nothing, my friend, but I don't think he's worthwhile having 3 whole videos going after. You could probably
How
say
many-
2.
I mean, to be fair, his largest video is on Blackaroony.
I get it.
Now, granted,
Technically,
actually,
it's
his
his second
smallest
largest
video
video.
isn't on
His
Blackaroony.
largest video is a clip he uploaded 3 years ago of 2 Godzilla characters fighting, who I don't care about.
I do this Blackaroony talk thing for other people. The reason why I do this for other people is because people genuinely want to see somebody talk about these guys at some point. There have always been discussions of bad faith actors in Godzilla communities and also other topics. I will get to every single person in due time. I have entire ideas, entire thought processes. I have entire things going for people. Blackaroony is not the only guy. I am simply, how do I say it? I wouldn't say building up a reputation, but I would say that I am using Blackaroony as a sacred cow for the filmic technique stuff. As we get further and further into this whole YouTube Godzilla thing, I personally myself will move on to other people to talk about and criticize. But Blackaroony's right now is the main objective. Probably one of the core objectives of this channel is to talk about Godzilla and people in the Godzilla community who deliberately do bad faith or they don't understand Godzilla, and I attempt to reify this. And yes, it does mean being mean to people, and I apologize, but I try to be very respectful to the best of my ability. But we all can't be, perfect. And so, yes, it does seem that I am obsessive, and I'm sorry if it does, but the goal here is to allow Godzilla fans, people from the outside, to enter and watch these videos, and they will learn something from it, at least a little bit. They don't have to learn anything, really, if they don't want to. They don't have to take away anything. but I just want at least one person's like viewpoint to be changed at least a little so they can read or, create something with something in mind. That's the goal here. So these Blackaroonie videos aren't particularly made for me or for Blackaroonie to respond to, but they're made for the viewer. Every single video has an intentional flair to it. So, that's pretty much how I see it. But you don't have to see it this way. Sorry for talking so long. Let's just get on with the video. It's very long, though.
Play that way. If it does figure out, you can just hear it in the background, okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
And I really think he should go find something else to do. But, this is his magnum opus, essentially. Like his culmination of all the...
Our boy did find something else to do. He's gonna be a
Yeah.
First
Well,
of all,
what I wanted to comment on real quick is that
This
he's
is
saying
not
it's
his
a
magnum
magnum
opus. This
opus,
is his
but
opening.
also
Yeah.
he prefaced it with, "This is an amateur work."
Yeah, wait. How are you going to have
Yeah.
a magnum opus simultaneously in the same sentence as your writing debut? Your amateur writing debut is your fucking magnum opus. Like that's what I mean. Like the tone
Yeah.
of this entire video is like you're critiquing him from such an over the top kind of a way that it's like there's just no way you can't like. I don't believe you. Like it's disingenuous. Like that's where it starts to get kind of disingenuous. Yeah.
I was kind of going to skip this part, but this is a perfect time to talk about Mahler's formula for EFAP. The main issue with every frame of pause as a format is primarily that when they pause in between a sentence. The goal is to be as pedantic as possible, to go on long-winded rants of unbridled fury for a half-finished argument. Then when the arguments that they create are done, immediately right after, a sentence later, utterly obliterates what they said. So you end up with that. And that's the reality of this, right? These guys are doing the exact same thing that, Mahler and his buddies are doing, and they aren't the last. Council of Candor will never be the last. But I recommend not pausing or cutting people off in argumentation or anything like that. It's a very normal thing to do. Unless they're repeating the same arguments, then you, at this point, you are kind of just free to cut them off at any time. But you get the point. Just don't do it. Doesn't look good on any of you guys for just like straight up saying, "Oh, you're disingenuous," and then immediately doing that.
A lot of my favorite writers, their magnum opus literally took them years to write.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Also, you also already
don't
said,
see that.
Joseph, that he should stop writing. You insinuated that it's
Yeah.
that this is so bad. Which I'm going to tell you right now, all your videos, 100% of them, are worse than mine. You should probably delete your channel because of that. It's not nice when a bigger guy comes over and starts telling you what to do, is it, little boy? So I'm going to give you a chance right now. You can apologize on Twitter if you want. And you can apologize to Rooney, in person if you'd like. But you need to not tell people they can't write. It's for the first thing that he didn't put publicly. It's on his Patreon. I know it's available there, but it's not as like he published it in the world. You need to back the fuck off, kid.
Blackaroonie is a self-described film critic and also has 120 videos on his playlist explaining to him how to write. The only issue is that he doesn't know how to write. So essentially, he's just consuming people telling them how they do their own jobs or how they do their own writing style. Honestly, I think you're better off just like consuming media. That's probably a better choice, which, is whatever, but you don't have to do that. But the actual issue is that Blackaroonie is taking all this information in and he's not doing anything with it. So when he's consuming all these 120 videos, he's there going, "This will help me up my literacy. This will teach me everything." And then immediately after, he creates a really awful Godzilla story. That's why I'm saying that he shouldn't write anymore, because when he does this, sorry for cutting off, he does this and then he just doesn't go anywhere. This is his, creation after months worth of consuming all this work, months of criticizing Godzilla, months after linking up with all these creators and networking. This is the result of all that. And it's not good. Uh-oh. Systems he's made in the past. It's bad. It goes from expository nightmare, getting a lot of basic facts wrong, a bizarre obsession of logic, and most of all, bad political soapbox. So
I'm sorry. Did you say a bizarre obsession of logic? Like that's
Yes.
a bad thing? That your story is logical?
Yes, this guy is
I
one
mean,
of
if
those
you're-
people who has drank the Kool-Aid of
Because
themes is more important than having logical consistency. And I'm going to tell you right now, you do need logical
Shoot.
consistency. You don't need autism the level that EFAP gets to. I understand.
Yeah, that's
they
just
go
what-
crazy. But
yeah.
your story does need to have an internal logic. Godzilla can't be 10 feet tall, then 50 feet tall, then 5,000 feet tall in the same movie.
none of this has anything to do with the fact why I said that it's a bizarre obsession with logic. So, oops. I'll talk about this part later as the video progresses. So, chapter 1, that's easy enough. So, the opening is essentially Sarazawa talking about his life. Unfortunately for you, dude, he's talking about how he's the sole survivor of the Tokai power plant and he's going to die and he has hours left to live, right? And he sees blisters on the back of his hand. His hand hurts from writing this. And he's right as fast as he can. So, unfortunately for you, at least, Blackaroonie decides that in order to convey as much emotion and information as possible, is by cramming it all into a gigantic exposition that lasts for way too long, that has nothing to do with the main actual part, right? So it's a whole page.
What do you mean by main actual part? You're gonna have to use some more
All right.
substantive
Yeah.
language here.
The main actual part is interesting for me to say, and I'm glad this dude asked this, but the main actual part is essentially the part where he talks about the whole incident. The thing about this whole information exposition gathering is that Blackaroonie wants to throw you into this moment where you have no idea what's going on. You will never have an idea what's going on. Not fully, at least. You will not know the build up, and you don't need to know what happens after. You only need to know what happens in the now. The goal here is to convey urgency and dread. But the issue is that he proceeds to exposit a gazillion figs about how this all led up to here in the first place, and he's on the verge of death. That's the problem here. If Blackaroonie wanted to do this, he could have simply spread it out over the course of several days. But or weeks really, but we can't have that. We have to have it all in one moment. This is one of Blackaroonie's famous tactics. It's called the I need logic. I need entire exposition to be handed to me. I need the movie to tell me what is happening. I need the story to give me all the information in the world so I know everything about the story and not like implicitly learn it from anything else. No implicit storytelling, no other philosophical concepts, no nothing. Just the story has to tell me every single little thing. And so that's the issue you're running into. Also, that I ran into. And unfortunately, I should have conveyed that better. But I think the audience members who watched it understood what I meant.
Here's the part that I think I know what he means, and I understand that he's critiquing it from there's like he gets it wrong and he gets it right. So the issue that he brings up eventually is that like this is like 13 pages of like a suicide note, basically, where the guy is about to die without his control, and it's like there's no way he would be this verbose and fill this many pages if he like is feeling the effects of nuclear radiation and he can't feel his hands and everything. Like I thought that was a good point in the critique, but
Yeah.
but the idea that like what he's saying is not relevant to the main story is ridiculous. Like what we're doing, Rooney's whole thing with a lot of his videos is like, can we treat Godzilla as a force of nature? Can we treat him as morally wrong? And like the idea that in one of his latest videos, Rooney put out a thing that was like, how would you feel if you were just a regular person and like your family died or your house got burned down by Godzilla? And it's like, okay, I understand. Like he's trying to bring us to understand the small individual perspective as far as like what one human might experience as the destruction brought about on such a large scale. He wants us to understand that on a smaller scale to the individual. I feel like that's what he's trying to do here. And I think it does give perspective on how powerful this monster is. And we'll get into more of that later.
On top of that, I
But
think
also-
that it's important because this is a suicide note from a scientist, scientists are notoriously very verbose and want to get nitty-gritty detailed. I agree
Okay.
it's too long for a film, but the fact that the note is, let's just say 13 pages, what you said, it's 13 pages long. That's not too long for a suicide note.
I'm not even going to explain to you how insane this argument sounds. Scientists are verbose and overly pedantic. So this means that scientists, when they're about to die, will or have a suicide note going on, they will write for a very long time. Yikes, I guess. That's an odd way of thinking about it.
I feel like you could also do some sort of imagery of like him slowly dying from the radiation. Of just
Yes,
like, I'm
would
trying
also
to get
help show
these
the
things
horror.
on my back before they kill me.
I want to take a
Like you
quick
can
second.
feel them crawling on his back. Sorry, yep.
Go ahead. Sorry. I want to respond to something Alex Gomez said. Alex says that he had a spat with his clown before. He's not one to engage in good faith. He appeals to subjectivity whenever it suits him. That's fine, Alex. I have no problem with, taking an absolute clown and showing you how to juggle when he keeps dropping his balls. That's fine with me. A bad example is good for those who want to pay attention, just as much as a good example is good for those who want to pay attention. It'll be okay. Don't worry. So let's listen to him talk some more.
Do something that like makes this shorter and actually integrates in this, because this is just too much, right? Too much exposition, too much talking, pretty much. Like this is all you have to offer. Really, really bad, really, really long exposition here. And I know I'm repeating myself a lot, but this is a major Blackaroonie problem where he has like these long diatribes that don't make sense in the narrative story and also aren't needed. Sarazawa is going to die. Why did he write all this? He didn't have to write every single little piece of this. He could have wrote some of this stuff. He didn't have to say all this. He didn't have to say all that. He never had to say all that. And the thing
I do want to say, I really do actually like this line. I can hear the wind making it whistle like a really little haunting tune, like the sound of a hungry oni. I like that concept. I want to tighten that line up a little bit.
Yeah.
Something
you
like
need to cut out the word really. That's another thing. Anytime you have the word really in your story, adverbs in general, but really specifically, you should cut out the word really.
Oh,
and you should
man.
use a more evocative word every single time.
Yeah.
Every single
There's
time.
hang on one second. Shout out to Zimzilla99
There's so many
in
better
chat.
words.
Welcome, Zimzilla. I'm glad you joined us from work.
That's our
I'll
guy.
probably have you come back later. He's
Oh
a great
my
man. I've
goodness.
been on stream with him before. He helped me settle the Rick situation.
Zim,
So yeah,
look at
I look
that.
forward to you coming back a little bit later, Zim, and I look forward to you talking to me about it, buddy. So yes, so I do want to say that like you could take this Hungry Oni line and really spin it into something much more interesting. Like say you could hear the wind making a whistle sound, a haunting tune like that of a Hungry Oni. Shorten the words a little bit. Now, like Pag said, much better. Because like I said, really in a lot of those other adverbs, again, unless it's a character who's kind of an idiot, you probably want to cut those out. If you have like a valley girl and she's like really, really into this, and maybe Becky and Mike really like each other, or they really, that's fine.
Goodness.
That's okay because that's the character. But like right now, especially this character, Terazawa, he's smart, and I think he should be a little bit more punctual than with some of these descriptions as well.
Sorry to interrupt, but we're skipping ahead to the 300 meters section where they talk about that because I mentioned that. This video is exceedingly long and they go on a lot of rambling tangents, so I tend to move things along. So we're just going to keep going.
Because that's 900 feet
I
tall.
check right now.
No, it's more than that. No, a meter is 3.3 feet, so it's like literally just under 1,000. It's 1,000 pretty much, yeah.
However, I feel like Rudy would put 300 feet tall because that's based on conversations we had together. I told him that 300 meters is stupid because that's like a monstrosity. Like that's literally
Right. That's like
skyscrapers.
bigger than a
Yeah.
skyscraper.
Isn't
I
the
can
Burj
believe
Khalifa
this.
territory? Isn't the Burj Khalifa about 1,000?
That's I think the tallest roller coaster is like 500 feet. So like if you've seen a really big roller coaster, like it's probably like 2 or 3 times that. It's really
The
big.
Empire State Building is 391, so I know that much.
Is it?
Yeah, Burj Khalifa is 2,700 feet tall. It's
Yeah,
it's
so it's Burj Khalifa.
yeah, well, it's more like a third, but yeah, it's so.
Yeah.
I don't think. Okay, so it's a Godzilla story. The focusing on how big and or how small Godzilla is silly.
It is, yeah. He's gonna be Godzilla.
Chat is informing me that Rudy did mean meters. Come on, Rudy.
Yes, I have it pulled up right here. However, he prefaces it by saying according to them. So,
It's
it could be
Ojogo.
off, but still, it says it was 300 meters in size.
Oh yeah, I think
That's managed to make buildings
he actually,
fall.
yeah, he shows it later in the
I think
video.
he
He does show that.
I don't think it is, though. Why is it too
That's
tall?
like, dude, that means that Godzilla is bigger than most like normal buildings and skyscrapers. Like absurdly so.
Yeah.
like double the size. Yeah.
No, that is way too big. That is.
How is he as big as Godzilla? Like,
I understand he's Godzilla, but he's big enough that it literally wouldn't make sense for him to ever A, not like kill all humanity, B, be able to like have a chance of not destroying everything. Just him being that tall, he's gonna have to destroy everything. He can't walk across the Golden State Bridge. He can't. I understand that.
Yeah.
That's too big.
Hang on, because again, spoiler, and our boy Maz did mention this. He says no Godzilla has been that big except for Godzilla Earth, and so I looked that up, and it is like a gay anime or whatever. But
Yeah,
Godzilla-
I was gonna say, I don't know where, someone mentioned that it was some anime he
It was
copied.
Maz. It was Maz, and funny enough, if you actually read that link and did your research that you're supposed to, you would see it does have a lot of the same themes that Rooney is like vaguely trying to express here, as far as like Godzilla versus humans as like a malevolent force. But he says like, oh, that's the only Godzilla that's been that big is Godzilla Earth, and Godzilla Earth lived for I think 20,000 Earth years before he got that big, which is like I don't know if that's relevant, but like yeah, with what he's trying to say here, I understand saying that 300 meters is too big, but I also agree with Peg, which is like he's gonna be able to destroy shit. Like,
I think 100 meters is fine. 100 meters makes tall skyscrapers. He can smack them around. It's still fun though.
So I also agree that 100-meter tall Godzilla is totally fine. Godzilla only has to be big enough that he can tackle buildings. That's all he needs to be big. But any increase in size beyond that, it's fine. It's just more Godzilla. Like you've already got Godzilla, it's just more Godzilla, and that's perfectly fine. I don't see any issue with having more Godzilla. Until he's like too big to step on.
Yeah, and there's no. Is there like an explicit background for Godzilla in Rooney's story that says that like he just got caused?
Hang on a second, we have to shout out Legacy here in super chat. Some of the villains I have can become giant. Don't pass the maximum of 100 feet tall without straining. That is a fantastic limitation on superpowers. By the way, if you want to learn more about Legacy and his superpower universe, come check the stream we did last week. We did a nice deep dive and really went into the details on them. And I had a lot of fun with that.
Wow, a double
He's
kill. Wow.
working hard. He's working hard. Show him some.
Hey, that is literally the only person, the only way to get any details on Legacy stories is my stream. We have the exclusive streams.
That's right.
Oh my goodness, an even bigger double shell. Wow.
Exactly.
Maz, I do agree with you that Rooney doesn't have the skill to write a response to something that much. I do agree with you. That is right. But I'm saying,
Yeah, okay, so if you talk about your abstract, sure, I'll agree with Godzilla big. However, I think that I would personally cap it at 100 meters because 300 feet, 30 feet is still absurdly huge, but like you can still handle that. At least I can understand how the military can like so much right like that. Because when this thing shows up, it's so big that we should just launch every weapon we have at once just to see what happens. There's no, we shoot with a tank or something first. This is all right. There goes Chicago. Just nuke it. We'll figure it out later. Nuke everything.
Like you know which movie doesn't get enough credit was Godzilla '98.
Oh my goodness.
It's the one where
Godzilla multiple times.
So Zilla, colloquially they call it Zilla because they don't recognize it as a true form of Godzilla, you know. But it is about 100 meters tall. It's about the size of a building. It can knock down a building, but it does take damage, and they do end up defeating it at the end. No spoiler, sorry. But yeah, 3 times that size. Woo, I don't know.
That's not even fun anymore. That's a cosmic scale. That's just you look at it like, oh god, this was going to be Warhammer. If I want things this retarded.
Rooney is going for horror. I don't think he has the chops quite yet to write. Like Matt said, I don't think he has the chops to write the like dread that seeing something the size of like half a mountain moving would cause him. I don't think he has the chops to write that. But I can understand why Rooney would make this version of Godzilla, who's just like a force of nature, so fucking big. Because the whole idea is it's fucking too much to.
I don't think he understands how tall 300 meters is. I think that's the real problem. It's hard to fathom that. No, it really is. Right, I love Rooney.
No, you're right.
I know where he lives. I know the buildings around where he lives. I don't believe they get that tall.
Yeah, I mean, it's
also
tall to end, and that's hard for people to visualize.
Not for Americans. I feel like how you could do it is don't mention the exact height and let the viewer fill in how big he actually is for the sense of horror of just like he was towering over even the largest skyscrapers. And it was in that moment I really knew how worthless my life was. There's nothing like that.
Because coming from the perspective of like a regular human being who sees him on a boat, you wouldn't be able to tell how tall he is realistically. I mean, you could say like he dwarfs our biggest whatever. Oh shoot, dude! Yeah, 300 meters is like he wants to. Just a
quick Google search, by the way. Based on Rooney's hometown, I'm not going to dox those who know where he lives. This Godzilla is about 50 meters taller than the largest building where he lives. That is insane. The tallest buildings are like 250-ish. So like he does not live by the mountains. Where he lives is very flat. It has some skyscrapers, but the tallest skyscraper he has is 250 feet. Man, I live near where Rooney is, and there's a hill nearby that we call blank mountain, and you wouldn't even consider it a hill if you were in West Virginia. This would be that mountain would be the flatland in West Virginia.
It's so funny to see someone like on a vacation somewhere where there's mountains, like Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, California, you name it, Wyoming, all this
I
shit.
went to Colorado for the first time 3 years ago, and it blew my mind to be able to have like what I was saying, just looking like, oh my god, the mountain's there. Like I can't touch it, but I can see it.
Yeah, the crazy part is you'll see a mountain, and like it's already like 2 hours drive away, and like you look at the sea level, go up a mountain, you go, oh, I'm 5,000 feet above sea level, and you go, how far above sea level am I at home? And it's like 0.
I'm currently 12 feet above sea level in my house. When I was in Colorado, I did go above 5,000. I went up. What's the town? Is the tourist town that like Aspen is it? It's a huge tourist town. I noticed passing out. There's no oxygen up there. That was fun. I remember driving down the mountain, waking up at the bottom of the mountain. That was quite an interesting drive. All right, back to Godzilla.
So you're telling me you discovered teleportation?
I did. And time travel.
That's called sleeping genius.
That's why you're the king. He knows teleportation.
Exactly. All right, let's hear Joseph out.
And that's insane. No Godzilla story has ever had such a large Godzilla beyond like Godzilla Earth. But Godzilla Earth never existed in a setting as 300 meters when humanity was still around. He was 300 meters
That's
when
true.
he basically was the sole undisputed ruler of the planet. Like this is corny over here. Like a sound of a hungry Oni. Like, yeah, thank you. Thank you for reminding us these Japanese guys. But this
Like that's a good discussion.
What? That makes sense. It would be really weird if it's just like it sounded like a vampire. That's European.
That sounded Squatch. He just said like, oh, it sounds like a genie. What? This genie sounding thing. Come on, man.
I want to give
Monsieur, this very large genie sounds like a very bad croissant.
It's funny when you said that, I wasn't sure if you meant to be French or not. I was like, why does Japanese accent sound French?
You don't think I am Japanese? What is wrong?
I am Sarasala. First of all, we got to drop it.
I was born and raised in France.
I want to. This is another instance where I'm like he's right and wrong because like
Farius the pack directly. We have to talk about it.
Ooh,
Sorry, not Farius. $20.
$20.
Congratulations. By the way, I would like to thank Not Farius personally. He finally gave me enough money that based on YouTube's tax. I believe I can cash out now. I will finally be able to get my first checkout. And I was going to announce it at the end of the stream, but I'll announce it now. With my first check from YouTube, I'm going to get a green screen set up. That's the first thing I'm buying. So you might be seeing my face soon, boys. I'll still keep it close to the live streams here, but on videos I'll be able to show you some of my figures and stuff and make videos even better. So Not Farius says, I'd like to point out that Japanese, much like sci-fi authors, have no grasp of scale or numbers in general. Get fucked, Pat.
Oh my goodness, Not Farius, you whore.
Yeah. Also, I lack context. Who is this guy? Why is he starting making power scale videos about DBZ? Bam! Got him. So this guy is Joseph Narukami, I think. What's his last name?
Narukami.
He decided to come out with like a Rooney story, which is kind of not good and kind of has some problems. But he took what should be a slam dunk and basically ruined it. He had all the opportunity he did in the world to like critique it and use Rooney's story as a storytelling thing and help give the guy guidance. Instead, he let his own personal hatred for Rooney get in the way and really tear it down. It's quite unfortunate.
Oh.
That's what we're talking about here.
Also, to add to the first super chat of they have heights and weights that don't make sense. Do you know how much Vegeta weighs? Vegeta from Dragon Ball.
Oh my goodness,
Tell me,
not
Vegito.
DBZ.
It's
Get
98
out of
pounds. It's fucking 98 pounds.
No, fuck you, bro. No. I'm
No,
literally
I'm fucking stupid.
No.
I'm
This is why. Yeah,
Oh
well,
my
guys, you guys have to remember. This is why all those short. This is why like Vegeta feels
Dude.
Mexican so much because he's so short.
the
I
skinny,
sworn somewhere that it was 98.
the skinniest women who are like 5 foot nothing have like a goal of being like under 100 pounds. Like, there's no
way.
get the fuck. Like, what does he have balloons up his
I
ass?
believe it's solely because Vegeta is like so small.
Yeah, he looks
I
like-
was totally wrong. He's like 120 pounds according to the wiki, but I want to find.
Still tiny
That's
for
I
a-
distinctly remember there being.
Okay.
He's still like 5'4" or something, to be fair.
All right, so
Yeah,
since Ted
so
died,
he's
I have
like-
to take the responses. I agree that a lot of sci-fi authors have stupid numbers. The problem with that is, Metal Fairies, like great example, Star Wars. The EU has numbers absurdly stupid. The reason it's so terrible is because we only ever see like 3 dudes piloting a spaceship, and it's like, oh yeah, every Star Wars is a complex of 20,000 people. But like a single pilot crashed into it and killed 3 of them.
Now, hang on. Have you've read Peg's books?
Yes.
I found the image. I got the
Oh,
weight exactly
shut up!
wrong.
I hate
Well, also-
everything about this image. I hate everything about it.
Oh,
I hate you personally for posting
I'm
it.
not putting this on
I got the
screen,
number
sorry.
wrong. It's not 98 pounds because I can't.
Yeah, you better not put that on screen. I hate that image.
If you
I
want to
hate
see
you
the image,
for
go to the
posting.
server and tag Ted Gargoyle to you privately.
What
am I looking at?
Like on the general channels.
How about I just kill you? What if
Yes.
we do that?
All right, so
Okay,
tag him
I'm
real quick. So not Fairies, I promise you, I will hit him with your super chats when he comes back from dealing with his child. Go buy his book in the meantime, everybody. So let's listen to Joseph while we wait.
All of them.
This part go, but this whole Hungry Oni part actually is funny because it leads into this weird Christianity angle. Like, but that thing, even in hell, that thing will haunt me. That thing is nothing God made. Do not hold him accountable. These guys live in Japan.
Japan has Christians. There's a
Not just
law.
that.
I mean,
Portugal,
to be
they
fair,
law
there's
this.
not a lot
Ugh.
of them. There's not a lot.
Not just that,
I mean,
but if you were to
still.
translate, well, hang on, this is a common thing. Buddhism has hell. Buddhism, Japanese Buddhism specifically, has, I think, 97 different hells, including one for pregnant women who die before giving birth, which is just very funny. But
Yeah, that's right.
Based?
Yeah,
Oh my
they
gosh, I
also
love
have
Buddhism
a
now.
creator being. They have several creator beings in Japanese mythology. In fact,
Yep.
if you wonder why the Japanese decided to do some fun times at Nanking, it's because their mythology says God created the universe, then he created the earth, then he created all the people. Then he said all people are stinky and ugly, so he made some beautiful islands, put the most beautiful people there, then he lived there, and that's how Japan got made. That's their mythos, that they're not just created with humanity, that God lives with them and he said they're the best people ever. So yeah, they do have God in their society.
So the Buddhism part has absolutely nothing to do with my argument here or any of the criticism I made about that. So whatever you just said there is kind of just irrelevant. Hells do not equal Christianity. Anyways, onto different things like this whole made up version of Japanese mythology. Izanagi and Izanami created Japan and the islands. I looked for anything that had like anything relating to God, like the Christian God creating Japan from like in their own mythos, as he says, but I couldn't find anything. So I'm personally confused where this got from at all. It would be appreciated if he gave us anything, but I don't know. It seems a little far-fetched, probably untrue, maybe. I'm not going to say that it might be true or false, but I feel like it just kind of comes out of nowhere, and it also just doesn't correlate with anything that I've read or I've seen, because I've been looking at like, where the hell does the Christian God come into the creation of Japanese mythos?
Alex Gomez also said this
right?
dude must have a lot of issues with
And it feels a
Neon
little
Genesis
disrespectful,
Evangelion. I'm like,
but, you know,
yeah,
we gotta
yeah.
move on.
So, that's funny,
for now,
but I
I'm
actually
just
have a heart
gonna
attack
say this was
because
insane,
that is a
and maybe
story
we should
about
just, like,
Christianity. This is supposed to be like
more
a real life
honest with
person
what you're saying
who
about
suddenly has
mythology,
Godzilla.
because that
Again,
was
I
probably
understand like this critique. I
dumb
think
to
this is a
say.
semi-valid critique here, but it's much more like I
Right.
wouldn't say it's wrong because it's Christian. I'd say much more it's wrong because I don't feel like A, this character would believe in God, B, that this character would be like pleading like this, and I also feel it's just cliche. So
It is
Alright.
definitely very cliche.
He
Alright.
does fall into some fucking. Oh, if he just phrased things differently and just revised it and like just figured out how to make it sound a little more intimate as far as like Japanese perspective or whatever perspective goes, like it wouldn't sound so generic. But he just he just needs more work,
Fumble.
dude. It
Yeah.
breaks my
Yeah.
heart that he put this
Yeah.
shit on public.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
yeah, it's all right.
But Pops, you see, this guy said Rooney should stop Ryan after this. There's no revisions anymore, obviously.
No more revisions.
So true. It's so over for Rooney. after
Speaking of
this.
it being
He's
over for
never
Rooney,
doing
let's see what else
anything
he has
ever
to
again.
say about this.
Oh
Why
my
is there
goodness.
Christianity involved in something such as this in such a old time, right? And Christianity has been possible in Japan for a long time now. But the point that I'm making is that why is this so Christian centric? But it gets even more Christian centric later. Like, oh yeah, God save us, and that's all. With love, Ishio Sarazawa. Like, you didn't write a whole 10-page thing about how Godzilla's gonna kill us all, and it's corny. It's really corny. It's not very good to read, but hey, at least maybe the later stuff will probably be better. It's not. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to tell you.
Damn, I'm so sad that it's not better. Also, I think
Right, that
ending
was-
with love, Rooney, come on, don't.
I was
with
gonna
love.
say, with love is not very good. I don't know why
No.
with love is there.
You all need to save yourselves. It's a terrible world. With
The
love,
world's gonna
it's me.
end with love.
For the love of God! For the love of God! And I love you all. Thank you all for coming out, and be sure to like, share, subscribe.
Yeah.
All right, let's hit play.
Honestly, I don't know about you, but I feel like these guys should genuinely pick a lane on what they are criticizing, because they're going back and forth between me and then they're going to Blackaroonie to criticize them, and then they're going back to me and then back to Blackaroonie. Ultimately, it leaves the whole thing a little muddled, but that's just me personally.
Don't vote Flash. Don't
Oh my god.
Don't use with love.
So in chapter 2, Otherworldly, we start with this whole thing, 2,300 meters, whatever, the longitude and latitude southeast of the Tokai.
Please, for the love of God. 2,300 hours. Hours means 11 p.m. in military time. Please. We can keep going. It's just.
No, it's not you. It's just
That's
this
what
is
I
want to
mean.
say. Joseph, guy,
Disingenuous,
if you're going to
bro.
be this vindictive and this petty, Rooney, you can't screw up basic stuff, man. You can record twice. This video's an hour.
Make
and
good slander.
This video is 51 minutes and 17 seconds long, and it took him 52 minutes and 17 seconds long. It took him 30 seconds to download, 30 seconds to type the title when he upload. You do a little bit better, man. It's not hard to critique a story. We've done it plenty here already. And like, come on, my friend.
Oh my God.
I want you to make this like a good critique. If you really want to show Rooney why he's wrong, then rip him apart by having this point and this point and this point. You're just shooting for things here. You're shooting like, 2300 meters or whatever. Why? That's just taking extra pot shots. And by missing it, you think you can't shoot. Come on, man.
Yeah, no, you can only take like valid. You can only take little pot shots like that if everything you've already said is like concrete, valid. Like you're dead wrong. Like you can't just come out with random shit like that, because like honestly, as a content creator, as somebody who knows a lot of content creators, at least I would say, it sounds petty. Like it comes across a certain way.
Also, you're not the corner who makes 500 videos a day. I've seen your channel. You make a decent amount of videos, but you can go back and re-edit some stuff and free double line or two. It's okay. Nobody's gonna kill you for that. Anyway, let's listen. Talk more.
Power plant. Fleet number is 300. 35 between the ages of 21 to 35, 65 between 40 years old and beyond. You got all these dudes. Fleet captain, by the way, is not like a rank in this context. It doesn't get any better, right? It's a destroyer. So obviously, that's a thing.
Come on, man. How are you gonna do this to me?
Hang on, what is
He's
this? What is he
completely
talking
Flight
correct.
captain is not a rank.
What is
He's
he talking
Moving on.
about?
What do you mean?
correct.
Yeah.
Fleet captain is not a rank. Last time it was a rank was in 1862 in United States Navy before the Civil War. There has never been an equivalent rank in the Japanese Navy. Also, I don't know, like, I can't show them, but this is fleet number 300. I think that's supposed to be like the amount of people in the crew, which is fine, but Rooney, you fucked this up here. You should say crew consisting of 300 men, 35%, and I also don't know why the percentages are broken down like that. The military wouldn't break them down like that in these two categories. Also, Rooney, between 21 and 35, you can join the military at 18, so you're missing 3 years there. In 35, okay, but then you jump to 40. Is there nobody who exists between the ages of 35 and 40? Like, come on, my friend.
I didn't even realize this. This is a lot
just
worse
feels
than I
like
realized.
he
You're
needed to
right.
do it in the
Dude,
draft.
Des,
Yeah.
I mean, all of you, like this scene specifically is where I start to kind of break down and be like, this guy is making valid points. Like this is I do not.
And this is what I was going to say. This
You
is
know
why I
what's
was
even
going to do
even
this.
with the fleet number, Yeah, like with the fleet number, it's also weird that he says fleet number and it's the
Yeah.
men on board and not the actual like composition
Fleet.
of the fleet.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
And
weird.
this is
This is
why I
how
wanted
many
to cover this video.
destroyers. This is how many.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
Hopefully,
actually,
I mean, with
you know
him
how Pop
joining-
said this is what got him to think that Joseph was doing a little bit right. This is what made me want to cover this because Joseph, you're correct
Right.
here. You got some great points here, and this next few bit of the video, he actually goes through and starts pointing out some really valid, weird things. I'm also going to give him a couple bit of legs up here. I'm 99% sure that the 7.62 round was not around in 1931 because I'm pretty sure that the 7.62 is a NATO bullet.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh,
762
no.
is NATO.
yeah.
No. It wouldn't be 1930
Look, guys,
because his date of
guys.
birth is 1931, age 53. So I assume that they're saying this is 1980s.
Yeah,
Wait,
I
you're
mean,
right. Oh my
oh, it-
goodness.
Maz, are you in the chat? Tell us.
Sure, I mean,
The reason why I brought up the fleet captain thing earlier is more of like, if it's a really easy fix, just tell them what you should be putting in there as opposed to fleet captain.
wouldn't it be? I probably would get this wrong. Admiral? I feel like would be commander of a fleet.
I mean, if
I'm
there's
not
only
sure.
destroyers, I don't think it'd be admiral. Like, would it be
It's
admiral if
one of
there's
those
only
things,
destroyer?
it could be.
This is one of those things where I would have. Is Pag's not in here, right?
Bag is gone, so he's useless.
No, he got taken behind the shed. Don't
He's
ask what
literally
happened
dead
to him.
to
wait.
us.
I think
I hate
the
it.
reason we're messing up is
Until it
I
shows
think
up
it's
next
just
time.
one ship. I don't think it's like a fleet. I think it's genuinely just one ship with how Rudy
Yeah.
does it. So like, no, there wouldn't be an admiral
Might
then.
be two or
It
three.
would-
It wouldn't be an admiral if
three.
it's one ship. That's the thing. I don't
Here's
know
the
what
other
it would
thing.
be,
Yeah.
but
The next
like maybe
problem-
captain, but
shit.
like it's definitely not.
So the
I
next
wish Pag
problem
was
here
here. I
is, so I just want to go over this. It says, you know, the 7.62, 54 MMR, which is ammunition cartridge for a Zasva. What do you mean ammunition cartridge? Like, one bullet? That doesn't make sense. You know, is it a spent or, you know, you don't say cartridge. Also, Zasva M80, M480, that's a machine gun that's made by Zatsva, which is used in like the
Dude,
Yugoslavian civil wars and stuff like that. It's designed by Yugoslavia. Why would this be on a Japanese ship and it's a machine gun?
Wait,
Look, the Japanese
why would the ship be
love
around?
Yugoslavia.
Dude,
Okay, Tito was the best guy ever.
He's the
Okay,
guy.
national hero.
It's basically a Yugoslavian knockoff of a Russian PKM. Like, and like again, most of you guys probably know what a PKM is. Yes,
Uh-huh.
yes, pops.
Go on.
Yeah, so most of you know that's the standard issue. If you ever played any World War II or like 1960s COD game, that's the Russian machine gun, not RPD. The RPD is like similar to it though. So this is just a machine gun. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, why would Rooney pick this? And also 6'1". I don't think there's ever a Japanese man that's 6'1". Why would you pick that as the height?
Oh my
If we're doing-
goodness! Look
Why
at
didn't you make it like
racism!
5'10"?
Oh my
That's like a more
goodness.
reasonable height. Like, also born in 31.
Another
They
thing,
were
why not
starving
put
when
in
this guy was
metric?
born.
Short,
He didn't have
tall.
food for the first decade of his life. So, this right here,
Why not put
this is
in
what
metric
Joseph's
too?
going
If it's
to
supposed to be like
go.
a Japanese document.
Look, no. Okay, we
Yeah.
colonized.
Also, why does
them,
it
okay?
just
They're
say
using
destroyed
God's
for ship
measurements.
status? What happened?
Yeah. Well, another thing
It's
is,
broken.
if Rudy's getting
gone.
so specific with the ship, but all the results I find for it are like from the 30s and 40s. Why would this be around the 80s if this guy's
No
51
way!
years
Is
old?
it really from the 30s? and
Yes,
40s?
all the picture I get is like 1934.
Yo.
No!
Effectively retired as a class because the destroyers aren't really effective anymore. They're kind of gone because after.
All right, we're skipping ahead because they're fighting Black Rooney. So we don't need to see any of this. You can watch the full stream if you want, but we're skipping ahead.
Yo. Did he say 2,000 hours?
He said
Yeah.
He said
2,100 hours.
2,100 hours. I was about to pause at that myself, honestly. It's like,
Dude.
please.
1 p.m.
Please.
They really want to hit
I-
a target at night, okay? They have
I-
night. What do you mean? What's the problem?
The
Dude.
announcer got it wrong, is what Pops is saying.
He
Well, that
said
too.
He said
The
2,000 hours.
announcer guy said. Oh,
Shut
wow.
up. He said 2,000 hours. I have nothing else to say. Play the video.
Well, Pops dismisses anybody who misspeaks or gets something wrong like before correcting themselves. So this we have we have a very interesting host here. Very interesting.
Exactly.
You could hear it loud and clear for 2 kilometers away. They wouldn't use kilometers, they would use nautical miles.
No, they wouldn't. They would use kilometers. This is a fucking dumb point. I want to smack you, sir. Just because they're on
Yeah, I
boat, they
think-
wouldn't use nautical miles.
This was
Nautical
one.
miles would be speed, right? Not distance.
Also, you might
Yeah.
they might say 2 clicks away because that's what it is. A kilometer is a click. If you want to get real military technical, Mister Guy, but yeah, 2
Mhm.
kilometers away. Also, the roar could render someone deaf. I know that's coming up in a second.
Oh my goodness, I forgot
no,
about
no.
that.
Get
It
to that.
is.
This is
No, let
something
him
that
cook. Let him cook. Let him cook.
because I just wanted to say something about the fucking nautical miles. It's like, yeah, this is something like Pag brought this up like at first glance, didn't he? He was
Yeah.
like, why wouldn't they say
Yeah.
that? How
Yeah,
the
he did
fuck?
bring it up immediately.
Like I don't know what measurements they use in the Japanese defense force. You fucking dweeb. Like I don't know, but yeah, dude, go ahead. This is gonna be funny as shit.
I have a friend who is a sailor. He's been at sea and he also does researches history and all that stuff. So let's talk about this very spoofy little few arguments we got going on here. Let's just start with the sailor part since I mentioned that first. I talked to him about kilometers and so forth and how this works. And and because he researches history and stuff, and I kind of do too, and sometimes he has told me that nobody would ever use kilometers out at sea. Obviously, it's from his standpoint. So I literally talked to a sailor about it, but then I researched it and it became true, pretty much. Everyone uses nautical miles at sea. That's kind of just factual. It's a universal type thing. But also, you can't just say that, oh, yeah, well, if you want to get technical, they would use clicks. Clicks is an American military slang for kilometers. Like, stop playing with me. You are intentionally being dishonest to, like, try to own me here. And also, Pops over here is very desperate on making me look like an idiot or something, or at least owning me. So he has like these goofy little statements where he calls me a dweeb or whatever because basic history, like you can literally look it up. Look up what the Japanese military is called. It's called the Japanese Self Defense Force, by the way. Like, well, I don't know what to tell you, buddy. That doesn't make me a dweeb. That's just basic history stuff. I don't know. Maybe pay attention more often in your classes. That's all I have to say. Moving on. Let's go.
No, this is great. I love
Joseph
how
got
this-
another win here. Let's let him explain it to us because he's got the correct take on this one mostly.
It was unmistakably Gojira. We repaired our artillery and aimed. Gojira became visible and started walking towards the fleet. Okay, so remember how Godzilla's 300 meters? Well, they would just be really seeing his feet and legs, and also the fog, and also it's nighttime, and nobody could see anything, so they would be.
Yo, hey, hang on. Before he gets his win, bro, he can suck a fat one. He's
Yes. I agree.
no. Let me cook. So Godzilla's 300 meters, which approximates to just under. Now later in the story, no spoiler, but pause it if you don't want a spoiler. He's confirmed 315 meters tall because the Japanese, I guess, have really good vision. But so that's over 1,000 feet tall.
Yep.
And so
3 football fields.
Now, regardless of that, this is 2 kilometers out into the Japanese sea or whatever it is, right?
Yep.
So how are we going to assume that all they can see as he approaches them is his knees and feet when he's literally he's under like at least like his own height worth of water?
He's that big. It's kind of like basic stuff going on, right? Just because something is far away doesn't mean you'll get to see the full picture of everything. Like if you're looking far away from a building from this specific angle, you won't see everything. But also, again, there are a lot of obstructing factors into why they can't properly see Godzilla. But also, Godzilla is still big enough so they would literally see like his legs. So I don't know what to tell you, man. Godzilla is huge in this story. It's not like -1 or later films, because you see in later films Godzilla in water is gargantuan. It's hard to discern what his shape is, even from afar, unless like, oh yeah, the movie makes it possible. The humans will have trouble seeing Godzilla's shape properly. 300 meters is large enough to quantify for something that in night it is specific like -1 or Godzilla 2014 setting, that it would be near incomprehensible to tell what the shape is. So just because he's 2 kilometers away doesn't mean that they'll be able to see him perfectly, or at least what Pops implies, see his whole body. It's not like the ships will hit him anyways, because they literally just reach Godzilla's toes.
Like, how the
So
fuck?
they do say that there's a cloud of smoke engulfing the land, which does kind of seem like the lower
But
parts of him would be
So, but it'd be
surrounded
reversed. They'd
by.
only be seeing his head then.
that's what I'm
Actually,
thinking
that
is
is a
like
good point. That is actually a good point. Yeah, you're right. They would only see his head. Yeah.
they are far enough. Now, I'm autistic enough that I looked this up because it bothered me. So
Man.
I looked up I tried to find out like what's the site of the power plant, and I found out it's Janjira, which is a fictional city, which unfortunately it doesn't exist. But I assume it's on like the southeastern coast of Japan, which the average depth of I think it's called the Japanese Sea or some other type of sea. You fucking look it up for yourself, but it's about
Japan.
55. It's about 5,500 feet, and 300 meters is about 1,000 feet. So I assume like 2 kilometers out, you're going to be probably, deep enough in the water that Godzilla isn't going to be immediately visible if he doesn't want to be, but also shallow enough that he could probably poke his head up and do his thing. Now, assuming that all you can see of this thing in a sea that's at average 5,500 feet deep, this thing that's 1,000 feet tall, is somehow you're only going to be able to see like his knees and toes, is a little absurd. So I went off on a bit of an autistic rant at that mention within this critique.
See, normally I would like probably care if Godzilla was swimming and poked his head out of water, but the issue is that this all implies that this guy was thinking that Godzilla is swimming before rising 2 kilometers away. Here's the problem though. Godzilla was walking 2 kilometers away from them. That's in the text. So this whole ramble and rant you did, which I mean, thank you for telling me this, but I don't care, because like Godzilla's walking, everything that you just kind of said is kind of like irrelevant to me. I don't care. I really do not care. I'm sorry. Just kind of like the way out goes. Like, you should probably be paying attention to the text before going on some whole tangent, and also paying attention to what I say so you don't go on an even larger tangent. Let's move on. We don't got enough time for this, but we got to keep going.
But still, this scene, we got to go on because there's a lot of things I'm going to want to address.
Like the worst scene in the story for Rooney.
Right.
Yes.
Also, they.
We gonna keep trucking then?
Yep, hit play.
He's just seeing like really big footsteps and hearing it. They would have to rely on hearing, right? But it doesn't help because Godzilla's like, really big. And so we wore the earplugs assigned to us because his roar could render someone deaf. This is the guy obsessed with logic. Like, he really genuinely wants people to be like, holy crap, this guy's too smart.
What the fuck
Dude,
are you talking about, Joseph?
Yeah, this
I want to
is.
slap you in your mouth. Give you
Now this
something to upset you. Earplugs are standard issue for firing a gun, because that can render you deaf. Let alone Godzilla. It's totally reasonable for his roar to deafen you. There are other reasons it shouldn't, because he roared at the other place with the beginning of the story. Nobody got deafened there. That's a problem. But for them to issue them earplugs, that's totally fine. That's not a problem at all. Why would you point this out?
I mean,
So I know that the Black Rooney series is unfinished, and ultimately this is all supposed to coalesce into one super big thing that everyone will eventually understand from every standpoint that Black Rooney is coming from with these works. But obviously, I apologize for not creating the Kate Randa video before this video, because that part of the video contextualizes a lot about this part of the scene. in the Kate Randa video, which I'll talk about eventually and get around to, he says that why doesn't Godzilla's roar render some her eardrums like to a bloody heaps or whatever? Pretty much, Godzilla's roar will render someone deaf. The problem does not lie in the guns or in the artillery, because honestly, if that were the case, then he wouldn't have mentioned it. People would have known or whatever, or at least like inferred that, or he would have written that. Oh yeah, well we put on our earplugs, uh, especially in danger because of Godzilla and such. But Blackaroonie isn't here to do that. Blackaroonie is here to prove a point that Godzilla's roar here can render someone deaf, blow out their eardrums, and because Legacy of Monsters didn't do it, then he will do it correctly. That's basically what the whole message is that he's getting at. I know it's like not particularly straightforward because that requires you to watch several Blackaroonie Godzilla videos to understand where his viewpoint's coming from, or at least watch the Kate Randa video. But ultimately, you're just kind of running into a brick wall saying these arguments because putting earplugs on with guns to not render yourself deaf is never the point. It will never be the point, and always never, and can't be the point. It's just incompatible with what I'm saying here. So, because my audience members know this, I know where that you guys don't, I'm clarifying it for you. Blackaroonie is doing this not to be accurate with anything, but to prove a point. That's why he is being very, very deliberate in what specific things he chooses, and for them to be immune to being turned deaf and stuff that he could just say, oh well, they put earplugs in so they can't be deaf. Hope that explains something and clears things up for anyone who didn't understand. But this was especially a tangent that I just needed to shut down before it could go anywhere. Sorry for cutting your whole parts of your argument off, but I just had to get that out of the way.
All right, let's keep going.
So we fired. We saw the back of its spines glowing blue. We knew its atomic breath was charging, so we began evasive maneuvers while the east and west ships loaded the harpoons. Like, why didn't they load this earlier? Like, this is the big issue. Like, if you are creating this logical story because you keep pushing consistently in your stories, then all these weapons should be loaded. The creature's mouth began to open.
All right. So, dumbass, you don't load guns before you see the enemy because unloading them is a bit of a problem. Harpoons also tend to be fired using like CO2 cartridges and stuff, not explosives, which makes it much harder to unload it. Once you've pierced a CO2 canister, you can't unload it essentially. You got to dry fire it. So, that's a problem. Also,
Dude, so unrelated tangent we have going on here, where basically he calls me a dumb idiot or whatever because harpoons have to be dry fired or something. Like, I don't know what to tell him or tell you or anybody. That has nothing to do with my argument whatsoever. My argument is straightforward. Why don't they have these things loaded beforehand? You're acting like this is a revolutionary concept that nobody's ever done before and that it can't be done. Like, huh? The harpoons are single usage and are going into Godzilla, basically. So what's the point of any of this tangent? What's the point? Doesn't make any sense to me at all. And also, there's this whole cartridge thing that this guy just brings up. Like, that has nothing to do with it either. Like, you are kind of just like saying words to me. I don't know what to tell you. You are just off base by a mile. Probably not even a mile. By like a planet.
So, that's a problem. Also, stop harping so much on the logical thing. You're coming across as a vindictive, petty little prick. Stop it. It's really looking bad for you. Any good critiques you have are like completely void because you're just like going like, he wants it. Shut up. Just go and tell me what's wrong.
What a concept!
But
Yeah.
hang on, because the whole deal about it, that like literally you just put him on his ass for, honestly, with that one little detail you just gave is like, oh, Because his whole thing is like, oh, he wants to be illogical. Well, we'll try to break him down by logic, and then by his own logic, you just dismantled him. That was great.
It's just if you're gonna be like this and you want to be so petty and like show like, oh man, I know more than you, then know more than him. Put him in his place,
Yeah,
smack him
literally.
down, and
Yes.
prove how stupid he is. We've shown multiple times it's not that hard with this story. He's got plenty of problems and flaws in here. But you're so focused on just winning that you're starting to do things that are self-sabotaging. It's so frustrating. That's why this video pisses me off so much. I'm hitting play.
Usually when people do this whole logic stuff, they don't mean it in the sense of internal consistency. It could never be the same. It could never be like that. I myself do not nitpick internal consistencies whatsoever. I personally just adapt, really. That's just how it goes. But the whole logic stuff is weirder than internal consistency because it's not internal consistency. It is obsessed with 100% optimal, 100% optimization of characters, people, and everything around it. Everything must function in this certain way. All characters must do this. If horror movie characters were smart, they would do this. And if it were accurate in real life, it would do this. Blackaroonie is essentially putting that into Godzilla. And while Godzilla itself can be realistic, Godzilla, for the most part, is literally science fiction. There's a reason why Godzilla's roars do not render some poor sap death in actual movies or in actual stories that people write. I'm not saying that Blackaroonie's story isn't a story, but what he's doing is taking the massively wrong approach to Godzilla. So this whole rant here just comes off as very dumb because what it is doing is basically going, oh well, stop being a little jerk, kid. Stop telling Blackaroonie that he should follow his own patterns and own consistencies. Oh my god. And it keeps going like that. And then you have his like little friends over here glazing him immediately after going, oh, you got him good, boss. Like like make that make sense, dude. Like that, like none of that had anything to do with the provocative stuff that I was going for. You just basically just said, back off, kid, don't mess with him, and you're ruining all the goodwill I've had for you. Like, you're not owning me. You're just making yourself look like a dweeb to me. Like that's really it. Like I personally do not need any like goodwill from you, King of Candor. I'm just saying, but you're acting like any legitimacy just fades away because I can just complain about something. That's not how that works. Honestly, I really don't think that's how that works. So let's just keep going. We only have a bit more to go.
And
That's
harpoons would fire piercing the skin. Godzilla's 300 meters. They would just be stabbing his legs basically with this. The atomic breath would fire through a streak of pain. It reminded me of acid reflux, so perhaps this was something similar. That has nothing to do with this. Please cut that out. It began belling short roars of pain as it scratched its throat. It looked at the east ship and listed a massive tail and hit the boat. It was split in two and sank. This is like gonna cause a tsunami. This is a 300-meter Godzilla, but no, he just has the power to slice ships in half. Everyone, not even a tsunami like that. Not even flatten into the water. Turn to the west side.
So you don't know if it causes tsunami. He didn't say that. A. B. Tsunamis are much more difficult to cause. Why don't you go hop in the water and just splash a little bit? That's not a tsunami. You're not gonna. I bet you can't, with all your force in your little kiddie pool, break over the waterways that easily. You're not gonna cause flooding and destruction. Tsunamis are incredible charges of energy that are released from earthquakes and volcanoes.
Okay, but I'm not in a kiddie pool. I am not a little kid. Vice versa, Godzilla is not in a kiddie pool. Godzilla is not a little kid. A 300-meter Godzilla. Godzilla consistently, when he goes inland, causes at least large floodings of water. And so, of course, Godzilla would most likely displace the water consistently at this sheer size. Even in the first scene Godzilla shows up in, there's no mention of flooding in this book. What happens is that just Godzilla shows up and burns everything. There's no flooding. So ultimately, we end up at this stalemate where Godzilla just doesn't really interact with the water, but the water doesn't interact with him. Moving on.
All right, let's let it go.
Tide ship and fire its atomic breath and sweep
Yes.
counterclockwise, melting the ships immediately. Yeah, because they're all like really close together and they couldn't avoid it. I ordered my crew to go to starboard and jump from the boat before the before the flames could reach us. And they have boats on the ships, right? Because it's a destroyer.
I swear.
They always have boats on ships. You idiot! They're always
Do
ready
you
for
know?
I swear to
Oh
fucking-
my
Do you
goodness!
know what the
we're
fuck happened in
fading
Titanic?
Pops so bad. So sad. Pops,
I
he'll
like-
be okay. It's one more line.
No, hang on. Let's let Pops go. I know it's coming up.
Can't
Go ahead,
afford the what?
Pops.
I didn't use it. And
I
then
have
we had
very little
the
else to
water
say.
was very hot, like in a hot tub.
No.
All right. So this is the line that filtered Pops earlier when he told me this video is wild. That Rooney needs to know. Rooney, hot tubs aren't that hot. Also, a friend of ours, Carolus, made a great point. That's not the word you should use there. You should say like maybe a boiling pot or something that's like damaging. Hot tubs are considered pleasant.
No,
Just
not what it's about.
ugh.
It's like the water was searing or something. I don't know.
Yeah, the water was
issue that-
very hot.
Anything.
Like right before you throw your pasta in. You know, that's evocative. That's Italians. We'd say this.
The
Any
issue
more you want
that
to bring
I
up
have
with the hot
it-
tub, Pops? I know you really got annoyed by this.
Yes. Am I legible? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. So my
Go
issue
off.
with that. So my generic issue and the overall whole thing with it, to put it as simply as I can, is that like this fucking line is like if you said like I need a simile and you said let me pick the worst simile, the most shitty comparison, and the worst possible phrasing that I possibly can, and you said let me call that fucking art. And oh my god, like in a hot tub, like it breaks my heart. Like this is the one line where I was like, I this is irredeemable. It's terrible. I could think of half a dozen fucking examples of better things to put than the water is very hot, like in a hot tub. In half a fucking minute, I swear to God. Like all you have to do. Carolus's point was that yes, the context of being in a hot tub is like it's comforting, it's relaxing. You don't worry about shit when you're just lounging in the hot tub. Versus, this massive monster is about to kill you, and you're not in a hot tub. You're not in a contained little bathroom. You're in the open ocean. By the way, the reason the Atlantic Ocean is called the pond is because the Pacific Ocean is big as shit. So you're out there. And there's so many different wordings you could have used. It breaks my heart. Like I would have said the water was hot as a sauna. You couldn't have even had to make it sound like a simile or a metaphor or whatever. You could have said just the water was a sauna. Like anything. Hot as shit. Like
You have to interrupt
use
you
the
though,
word hot
Pops.
Uh,
Sorry, Pops. I have to
go
interrupt
ahead.
you. Legacy says the stream is going to cut the circulation in my brain like Destructo's tiny historical helmet. I think Legacy figured it out, boys. This is why Dez can't type for shit because he's got a tiny helmet that cuts all circulation in his brain.
On every my man mixed up every word possible.
If there's a typo in a sentence, Dez has got it. All right,
Hell yeah.
let's keep going, boys.
There's so many tables. What you just said, kid. Come on now.
Yes.
Yeah, let's keep going.
Oh my god, bro. It's not that hard
Oh
to
my
easily
God.
do characterization by simply going, the water felt like a hot spring. This would
That's
immediately.
a terrible fix, you idiot.
No, that doesn't fix the
What's
problem.
worse?
Later on in the Godzilla Goddess world, Blackarooni's character Godzilla specifically is allegedly the death god or whatever, a Shinigami or such. Essentially, Godzilla is like this bizarre nostalgic monster. The idea is intentional for Godzilla to, his whole nostalgia based thing is for the burning water to not feel like burning water, like it's literally melting your flesh off or anything, but to make you feel comforted, like to make you feel like you're at home, pretty much. That's the point that I was making with this. I am sorry to any of my viewers who didn't understand this. And I apologize to the Counselor Candor who probably didn't parse this because they didn't watch the whole video, but you get the point. Let's keep going. This video's almost done.
Keep going, but that's not a bad thing or a good thing.
We looked at a ship and saw the hull was melting off and hasn't finished sinking. The boat and the water around it was steaming. Okay, look, man, we don't care, bro. We could get the lifeboats.
Hey, yo.
Why don't we care? That's a good thing.
That's
The whole idea is how
What do you-
hot it was. Is the entire
Always-
reason he brought up as you said, he should have a hot springs because Ching Chin Hoangji apparently. Like, come on, man! Don't fucking tell me that it doesn't matter, and then bring up why it exactly matters, and then say that also doesn't matter.
You put that in my mouth, but okay. So the whole very vaguely racist thing going on there with the whole Ching Chong thing is absurd, insane. But that was not the argument I was creating. The point is that he comes from this place with specific things. The fix is specifically based on the hot tub. The goal is to simply change that so it literally is accurate to actual culture. That's not that hard. Now, on to other matters. Well, we don't care because it's an uninteresting scene. It's just somebody reciting it. It's not a literal recording or a little thing of somebody literally seeing their entire fleet getting destroyed. It's very clinical, very detached from the main character's actual fearful perspective or anything. That's why we don't care. And the thing is that clinical perspectives can work. They're interesting and they create narratives out of it, SCP, for example. But they eventually turned their clinical things into actual stories because they couldn't properly tell stories in that format. So they proceeded to use that clinical format to create stories. Black Aruni, unfortunately, literally just is only clinical. He's creating Series 1 SCPs with this.
Like,
Who is we?
we as the readers.
We
It's the royal we, and I'm the king, so we're gonna hit play again.
We tried to swim to the boat. Couldn't get the lifeboats. Did they not just decide to get in them earlier? Like, what is happening?
So he's slightly
they
correct
dove
here.
in.
Well, he is correct. They did say we need to get to the boats. Then they said we're going to go in the water, and then they said they can't get back to the lifeboats. I agree that the sequence needs to be tightened up a little bit by Rooney because it's very clear, like jumping a little bit too much around. This is an editing thing where you could make it flow better. But let's continue.
This is insane. Like, huh?
It's not insane.
No
It's average
lifeboats,
writer
no
problems.
running away or anything on a lifeboat, just swimming. And then, a carefully peek into Gojira and there was, standing there breathing heavily. It stared right at me, smiling. This is so corny. The suit stuff, bro, where Godzilla smiles at the screen, and everyone pees their pants. This is so text heavy already, by the way. We're only at page 14, and this is very text heavy.
Man, I agree, but you've dealt with a suicide note and a military report. Of course they're going to be text heavy.
The thing about this text heavy narrative is that something can be text heavy, and I wouldn't mind. The problem is that it's entirely uninteresting. The whole clinical format that he tries to employ here, that is not even a military report, is utterly boring. He doesn't try to experiment with the military report to try to get a Godzilla vibe or anything like that. He doesn't try to imagine, oh, so what if there's a military report, but Godzilla was involved and he was wrecking people? He doesn't do that. So that's uninteresting. 100%. Very uninteresting. So it's precisely for that reason why we don't care, as I've already explained before. Sorry for repeating myself, but the other thing is that Serizawa is going to die involuntarily, whether he likes it or not. He can't do anything about it. So if he knows that his life is on the line, he would not spend all his time writing regardless, which has been basically true to anyone who actually read the story or watched the video. But I mean, you guys are, and you guys haven't gotten halfway, and it's 2 hours long. So weird, I guess. Weird that you're trying to do this. If the military report was actually engaging, then I would not even complain. But unfortunately, it's not. So sorry.
I'm sorry. Nobody's talking yet. I agree that is not ideal for a story, but you need to make your criticism much more understandable if that's what you're going to complain about. Come on. And the whole smiled at him, I personally hate that. That's not a man in a suit type problem. The reason that's a bad thing is the smile implies malice. It implies something that I don't think you want to imply, or even Rooney wants to imply with Godzilla. He wants Godzilla to be a natural disaster. The smile implies hatred. What's up?
Kid. Spoilers, little bit of spoilers. He does imply malice. He does imply hatred.
Okay, so then in that case, it's actually a good thing.
All right, crazy switch up. That's actually a crazy switch up.
I have no idea, but don't worry, we're going to make sure to cover this in full.
Oh wow, it was staring at me, smiling. Oh my god, he could smile and he's evil. Like, make it make sense, dude. This is not good. Like, I tried not to go into this with preconceived notions, but it's not very.
That's
No, you
full of
didn't.
That's
shit.
so fucking bullshit.
You're so ready
That's
to
a
fight
lie.
this guy. Rooney could have written the next Bible, and you would have been like, man, this don't make sense. I hate this. Satan's evil. Shake my head. Come on, man. Come on. You didn't come into this.
Well,
with no
also,
preconceived
he's
notions.
already proven so far that he's been coming at this from bad faith a decent bit.
Like,
So when you go
right,
and say, man, well, it's also, I think at the beginning, it was just sort of like this sort of vibe of, man, I didn't want to have to make this video. I'm really hoping that Black Rooney will stop making some videos soon, man. I hope that he stops writing.
Well, no,
Said, like, I hope you stop
was-
writing.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's actually going farther than that. It's not like, man, I didn't want to cover this. It's like, man, you suck. I hope you never make another thing again. Please stop. It's painful.
You should kill yourself now.
I mean, you guys are right on the money, except for the killing yourself part. I would never do that. That's a low tier God joke. But you get the point. I do think Black Rooney is a terrible critic and a terrible writer. And honestly, I think he should just like try his hand at something else. There are much better opportunities for him, honestly, and evidently, writing will not be a strong suit for at least a long time. I have been writing since like a little kid, and obviously, writing comes easy to me. But and it's not like I don't have to watch any of these videos on how to write or anything. I just kind of know how things go. So unfortunately, I just genuinely think that Black Rooney should stop. That's always been my modus operandi. And I'll continue saying that repeatedly and repeatedly until he stops. There is no other way that this can go.
For Joseph as well. We'll be fair to both of them. And Joseph, if you're watching and you want to talk about this on a live stream, you're more than welcome to let me know. You can't come on next week, but in 2 weeks you can come on if you wanted to talk about this. I will have you on. I'm not going to be like overly polite, just so you know. If you want to keep it cordial, we can. But you very much went into this with vitriol. You shouldn't have done that because we immediately are going to come back with the vitriol. Go into this nice and we'll be much, much better next time. All right? So.
I'll be polite, Joe.
Yeah, we'll be polite.
Pops, please don't lie to him. He's gonna believe that.
But no.
He's gonna come in and he's just gonna kill him.
Normally, this is where the video ends, and it will end in just a moment. So there were 5 hosts on the stream, and they were basically sometimes talking over each other and causing issues. There's this one part that I cut out that you guys didn't see, where one of the hosts literally is talking, King of Candor, and then somebody talks in between that, like over nautical miles, because one of the dudes in the stream literally admits that they don't know what nautical miles are or something along those lines. And then King of Candor's entire harpoon argument gets like technically negated in the middle of this because there's a second conversation going on between 2 other members. So you can't hear what he's trying to say. So in that crucial moment, when you're trying to hear that crucial moment, it just disappears. You can watch it for yourself. I forgot the timestamp. Sorry. But, the reason why I didn't put it in the video was straightforward. It wouldn't add anything. It would be kind of just mean to do so, honestly. And I don't think that the Council of Candor, or at least King of Candor's heart here, was in the right place, at least making this video. He attempted to dunk on me with multiple other people, but a lot of them didn't particularly have any of the right input whatsoever. They kind of just like agreed or like started rambling about other things, and it was like just 2 hours, and then 13 to 14 minutes in a span of 2 hours. Like, seriously, that's the best you guys can do. And because of that, we're just gonna move on. So yeah, that's pretty much it of the video. I hope you enjoyed. There will probably be more coming. I'm getting busy, all that stuff starting up again. So hopefully I'll have time to create more, but I definitely will create more. Thank you for watching, and have a good day or good night wherever you are.